What's up, YouTube? Now you see the title of this video and you see the image that I have on the screen. I decided to double back on this this ICE raids topic, right? With the whole anti-ICE raids rallies going on, or I should say protests going on in Los Angeles, right? I decided to go ahead and make another video because there's some more stuff I want to say on this topic. And you see the image on the screen, right? I'm about to explain why that's the image for this screen right now. The reason I chose this image for this video is because, you see the title, right? You have made a covenant, right? Instead of to all these racist Hispanics, right? You have made a covenant. The Hispanic community, I've made a covenant with the wicked. You have made a covenant with Esau, so-called European. They call themselves in this current time. You have made a covenant with them. You have made a covenant with Edom against the so-called Negro. You have made a covenant. You have joined yourself with somebody who really doesn't have your best interest, but you have nonetheless joined yourself with these individuals, with the races within the white community. You have joined yourselves with them. You've made a covenant with them. And now you find yourself in a situation where you are being booted out of the country. And you have all of these videos that, I'm seeing of these Hispanics, on TikTok and other platforms crying and talking about, this is wrong, this is an injustice, this is that. And trying to get, black people and I'm surprised. I've even seen some of them even say, some of the white people, calling them out. But here's the thing. There's like I said in my last video on this topic, you have no leg to stand on in this situation, because the same community that is giving you that smoke is the same community who you have always stood side by side with against the Negro. You have parroted their talking points when it comes to the state of the Negro in this country, and you have made it seem as if all of the historical events that have occurred in this country that have aided in the disenfranchisement of the Negro, you have somehow reasoned within yourself that none of that had any effect on the conditions of the state of the Negro today. So because you have joined with the so-called Caucasian and berating the black community and pushing propaganda and talking points devoid of logic, talking points devoid of any knowledge, talking points that are completely ahistorical, you now find yourself in a situation where black people are not going to be able to actually feel bad for you, when it comes to this. A lot of black people, at least I should say, who see this, these people are not stupid. They see the disdain you have. They see the hatred you have for them. And it's good that I'm seeing a lot more black people call this out and, understand the history. I'm seeing a lot more people talking about, the Mejo da Raza thing and all that, and talking about the history of really South America in general, and like a lot of the hatred that they have for blackness. So, now that you have this awakening of people seeing this, the whole black and brown coalition thing, it doesn't have any legs to stand on, because there never was a coalition. They have always, the Hispanic community by and large, has always been in cahoots with the so-called Caucasian. They have always stood with them against the Negro. They have always parroted their talking points against the Negro. They have always made it seem as if, they see themselves as, they see themselves almost as, honorary whites. They aspire to be accepted by whites, and they really view themselves as we're better than the Negroes. This is how they view themselves, even though it's completely lunacy. This is how they view themselves. This is how many of them think. This is how many of them actually walk around, seeing the world. We're seen as better than the Negroes. So, to them, that they've reached the promised land. To them, that's all they need is that pat on the head by the white man. For him to, lightly pat them on the head like a dog and say, "Good boy, you're not like the Negroes." This is how they think. So when we have a group of individuals with such a regressive mindset and such a hatred of the Negro, how can you feel sorry for them as a black person? Especially considering the fact, and it's just hilarious, man. All this stuff's just transpiring, man. There was actually some Hispanics that called a black cop, the N-word at one of these protests, at one of these anti-ICE protests. They called a black police officer the N-word. So let me get this straight. In the process of you trying to create a moral position of why you shouldn't get booted out of the country, you proceed to racially berate a black cop who's doing his job. But you have the audacity to ask for people to have sympathy for you. You have the audacity to try to come from a moral position, but what you're engaging in is immoral behavior. And your community has a immoral viewpoint of another group of people, and you want to receive sympathy from people. See, y'all are almost as bad as the white nationalists who are running around crying about, and the difference is their stuff, at least with these ICE raids, this is real. The white nationalists, they run around crying about shit that's not even real. But nonetheless, let's entertain it, right? You are no different than them when it comes to them crying about, oh, the white males are under attack, oh my God, and all of this goofy shit that they say that's not even real, right? But then at the same time, those same individuals that perceive themselves to be victims, that perceive themselves to be mistreated in the country as white males, as laughable as that is, right? They then turn around and engage in racism against blacks. They then turn around and engage in racism against, Hispanics or any community, right? They turn around and engage in hatred against other groups of people, view other groups of people as subhuman. But then, subsequent to that very ideology and within the same, damn near the same breath of crying about being, under attack as white males in this country and as white people in this country, they will then in that same breath turn around and dehumanize blacks and dehumanize other groups. So it's like, how even if your position was true that you're under attack, how can anybody feel sorry for you if you're just this flaming racist? You don't have a moral position to stand on. So honestly, you should be looked at, people should look at you and be like, dude, shut the fuck up. Okay? Like, I don't want to hear you crying about this shit and claiming you're mistreated when you think it's okay to mistreat others. You don't have a room to stand on. If anything, you deserve the treatment you're getting then. You create the argument that it's deserved because of your behavior, because of your ideology. So same thing applies to the Hispanic community. You have this ideology of anti-blackness. You have this ideology that is brought over here to this country. You bring this anti-black sentiment to the country. You engage in hiring discrimination, right? In Los Angeles, I've heard of stories and people who have given testimony to how they have been discriminated against when it comes to hiring by Hispanics within Los Angeles, specifically, right? So within this region, you engage in hiring discrimination. You engage in racism against the black community. You look to shut them out from having any type of equity. You look to completely flood them out from any type of resources. You engage in anti-black racism, but then you want to cry about perceived anti-Hispanic racism. Get the fuck out of here, bro. See, this is why nobody is going to really feel sorry for you. I'm sorry, because you have created the grounds for no one to give a fuck by your own actions. Your moral position you don't have a moral position. What do I mean your moral position? You don't have a moral position because everything you have been engaging in this country, coming over here with this racism, coming over here practicing anti-black racism, there should be no black people really, jumping out the window, crashing out to support a group of people that despise them. It doesn't make sense. So when you have black people who are calling this out and are like, yeah, man, hey, y'all need to really I wish y'all the best of luck, but I'm gonna sit this one out. I'm a chill, I'm gonna relax, I'm gonna eat my popcorn, I'm gonna do whatever, and I'm gonna just enjoy the show. You can't really come at nobody for having that position. You don't have any. Not only do you don't have a moral position to stand on, but you don't have an intellectual position to stand on that. You can't shame anybody into actually really investing too much into that, considering the history of how you engage with the black community, right? So you can't say, oh, we need to go against these white people races. Nah, you've been in a covenant with these same individuals. You've been in a covenant with these white people. You've been in a covenant with them against the Negro. And now the judgment of the Most High has arrived. Now you're beginning to see that, oh, maybe we should have did some introspection. Maybe we should have addressed the self-hatred we have in our community and get our shit together, because that is a mental illness. Maybe we need to address our mental illness and get our shit right. Instead of doing that, you have engaged in insane amounts of racism against the Negro. Like I said, it's not even just the hiring discrimination. It's even, shit like firebombing black households, that are in the neighborhood, right? In Hispanic communities, right? There was a case in Los Angeles, I believe, or not in Los Angeles. It was in California. I think it was maybe close to Los Angeles, something like that. But it was a Hispanic community in California, I'm pretty sure, for certain. And they, they had some black residents within the area, and they firebombed, right? Firebombed the community. Firebombed those black residents to try to get them to leave the community, right? They weren't committing any crime, right? They weren't, it wasn't 1350. No, they weren't doing that. No, it wasn't no niggas running around with the Pooh Shiesty mask, robbing niggas. No, that's not what was going on. It was black people who were just so happened to be living in the community, just doing the thing that majority of Americans are trying to do, make it day by day, and just living their life, which is what the majority of people in this country are actually doing. That's all they were doing. But because of the hatred that is within the Hispanic community towards blacks, they saw fit that, how dare these Negroes think that they can live in peace? We not letting that slide. How dare they think that they can coexist peacefully? Nah, I hate you for existing, nigga. And they firebomb this shit. So this same community, with this high amounts of anti-black racism, this high amounts of evil, thinks they have a moral position to stand on when it comes to, oh, they're deporting people and they've separated families. Well, I mean, hey man, that's tough, man. But I mean, when you make a covenant with the devil, you know, shit like this happens, bruh. Shit like this happens. You know, you might not have been in this situation if you actually made a real coalition with the Negro, you know. But you wanted to suck up to Esau. So now you getting that work. You wanted to make a covenant with Baphomet, right? The image on the screen you see. You wanted to make a covenant with that. That's what you made a covenant with. And now the results of that covenant are here, right? But that's all I gotta really say for this video. It look like it's about to start raining and shit, man. This is wild. I'm probably about to, despite it's about to rain, I'm still gonna go get a car wash because the rain is not gonna get everything I needed to hit, you know. But I'm about to go ahead and end this video, man. You know, the Hispanic community, you know, I hope y'all really get yourselves together in terms of y'all internalized self-hatred and really, you know, fix the problems of your community. I don't know why. Here's another thing that I find funny before I leave. You know, why are there Mexican flags waving in protest to being deported? Does that make any sense? If you're waving the flag of the country that you're, you know, potentially going to get deported to, clearly, if you see that country as goddamn dude, what is that noise? If you see the country as something that is admirable enough to wave the flag of, you know, you have that much pride in it, why protest being deported to that country? Doesn't make any sense, bro. But you know, that's all I gotta say for this video, man. I'm out.